Hey guys, Zachary Shaheen here with another video tutorial from 3D Creations for Beginners. In this video tutorial, we are going to be making cool surface-to-air missile turrets. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to be making in our turret is going to be the base. So let's delete the cube, go into orthographic, let's look at it from the side, and we're going to go ahead and make a circle. Let's give that circle 64 vertices. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead and tab into edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to extrude this up a little bit. Okay, now let's scale it in. Alright, so one thing that I want to do here is extrude it one more time and scale it in. And now I'm going to extrude it again and move it down, extrude one more time, and then scale it in. And let's go ahead and merge at the center. Okay, so this is going to be the base of our turret object. Now next, let's go ahead and make the rotating base of the turret. This is just going to be a simple circle that we're going to be placing in the middle. So let's just add a circle, scale it down. Let's go ahead and give it some depth, so we're going to go into edit mode, extrude up. Let's go ahead and close these vertices to make a face by pressing F. Now the next thing that we need to do is place an object on top that's going to allow the turret to pitch up and down. So for this, let's make another circle. Okay, now let's rotate the circle so it's looking right at us. Okay, so this is the shape that I have in mind. The first thing I'm going to do is select the top half of the vertices of the circle and pull them up. Now what I'm going to do is scale the top half down. Okay, there we go. Alright, now one more thing we need to do is delete some of these vertices here where this curve is, because we want this to go straight across. So we're going to delete. And now what we need to do is make a face across the bottom. So in wireframe mode, let's go ahead and select the bottom 4 vertices and then press F to join them together. Now let's go ahead and close the vertices on each side of the object. F. And one more time with F. So this is the object. Now let's go ahead and place it right here on top of this rotating plate. Okay, so what we want to do now is make the bottom leg of the turret. So what we're going to be doing is making a new plane. Now let's look at it straight down by pressing 7 so we have a top view. The next thing that we're going to do is scale it in. There we go. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is grab the loop cut and slide tool, or just press Ctrl R. And what we want to do is we want to put 2 more edges in the center of the object, because we're going to be clearing the center face of the object, this one right here. Alright, now we need to put one at the top and one at the bottom. Ctrl R, place it right here. One more time with Ctrl R, place it right here. There we go. Now let's go ahead and go into face select mode. Select this face, X to delete, and we're going to delete the faces. So now we have this object. Let's go ahead and go into vertices select mode, and we're going to extrude this down to give it some depth. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this one into position. So we're just going to play with the rotation until it looks right. So it's going to be 90 degrees here, rotate it here, scale it down, grab it, line it up there. Okay, now let's go ahead and make the second one. We're just going to duplicate this, so we're going to press Shift D, move that up here, rotate it, grab it. Also, let's go ahead and move it over here to the side. Okay, so that's going to be the basic skeletal structure of the support system for our turret. Now what we're going to do is build the head of the turret. So we're going to be making a new plane, rotate it 90 degrees. Alright, now we can begin shaping the plane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the top 2 vertices, move them down, and we're going to kind of sculpt this into what we want the head of our turret to look like. Let's add another edge right here. Grab this vertice, move it down here. We grab that one too. Maybe we can make the whole thing a little bit shorter. Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and look at it from the front view and extrude it out sideways. Just like that. Let's scale it down still and put it right on top. There we go. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be building is the bottom of the turret, where the legs of the turret are going to be able to rotate back and forth. So it's going to be kind of like a semicircle object on the bottom of this. So that's going to be pretty easy to make. Once again, we're going to be making a new circle. And let's go ahead and select half of the vertices and delete them. Okay, we're going to select all. We're going to extrude these up. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to be doing is making a bit of an indent in the object right here in the middle and right over here. So let's go ahead and add some more edges with Control R. And we're going to be doing something similar to what we did to the legs of the turret, where we're going to be splitting the object like this. So now what we want to do is go into face select mode and select the middle faces of the object, just like that. Let's go ahead and press E to extrude, and then right click, and we're going to go ahead and scale this down. Now let's go ahead and scale it again, but only on the Z axis to kind of push it out. Now let's go into vertice select, select the top of the object, F to close the faces, same to the bottom of the object, F to close the faces. There we are. Now let's go ahead and put that into position. We're going to move it over here. I'm going to play with these rotation values over to the right to rotate it in the right direction. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to put where I have the ability to control and rotate this right in the middle of the object. So over on the left, right here where it says Set Origin, I'm going to click Set Origin to Geometry. That's going to place the manipulator right in the center of the object. Now let's go ahead and move it to the bottom of the head of the turret. Scale it down. Now from a side view, let's go ahead and line it up. Let's scale it down some more. Okay, there we go. Now let's select both of these, slide them over, and move them down so they kind of fit into the top leg of the turret support. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a moment to kind of clean this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this object over, and I am going to select all of these objects and move them over here. That way they kind of line up a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be doing is adding some modifiers to these objects to make them look a little bit, well, better. So the first thing that we're going to do is select smooth shading on this rotator piece right here and on the base. Now you can see when we do that we kind of lose a little bit of the detail of the object, so it's kind of hard to tell what it is. Well, we can fix that by adding a modifier to it. Now the modifiers are over here, it's the little wrench button. Now modifiers allow you to manipulate the objects in certain ways. We're going to be putting in the edge split modifier. See, now we can tell that it is a circle shape again. Let's do the same to the base, add modifier, edge split. There we go. Now the shape is more defined. Let's do that to this object as well. Smooth shading, edge split. There we go. Alright, next we have to do something about these turret legs. These are not very impressive looking objects. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add the Subdivision Surface modifier. Now what that does is it subdivides the object and it gives it a much smoother look. Now we can control right here exactly how smooth it's going to be. So if we move the view up, we can see that it smooths out the object. Right now we're going to leave this at 5. Let's do the same to the top object. Add modifier. Subdivision Surface. Change the view to 5. We also have to change the render to 5 as well, so it actually renders at a value of 5 and not just 1 or 2 or whatever it is set to. Okay, let's go ahead and do smooth shading with an edge split to this bottom piece right here. And there we go. Okay, so this is definitely starting to look a little bit more interesting and less kind of sloppy and simple as it was before. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be adding on to this turret piece is going to be the front sort of sensor or detector. I'm not really sure what it's called, but it's basically going to be an orb that rotates around and looks for enemy planes or missiles to go ahead and shoot down. So what we want to do is give this an object that's going to kind of reach out and hold the orb in place. So let's go ahead and go into edit mode. And we're going to press Control R and we're going to add some edges. Alright, now let's go ahead and go into face select mode and select this face and this face. Now let's press E to extrude. Let's go ahead and just scale it on the Z axis. Alright, so now what we're going to do is make the sensor orb. So we're going to go ahead and add in a new sphere, change the amount of segments to 64. Obviously we're going to want to scale it down so it can fit, and just keep playing with it and scaling it down. Okay, there we go. Now what I want to do now is give this kind of a center of the object where the kind of eyeball is going to be. And we're going to do this right here in the top of the object. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tab into edit mode. We're going to go to vertices select, and what we're going to do here is select with the C key. We're going to go ahead and select the vertices that we want to manipulate. Go ahead and drag it in. And there we go. Alright, now let's go ahead and rotate it so it's looking straight out. Also, smooth shading. And so we can see the detail. Let's add an edge split modifier. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just manipulate some of the faces on the head of the turret to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. So I'm just going to select certain points in the object, make more of them, move them in and out to kind of give this a little bit more depth. Now this is a really easy trick to do if you think that your creation looks a little bit too simple. So what I'm going to do here is press E to extrude, and then just scale it either down or up. Okay, let's do one more of these. E to extrude, scale it in. Let's move that one down a little bit. Okay, so this is going to be the head of our turret. Now let's go ahead and add the objects to attach the missiles to. Now these are just going to be some simple cube objects that we're going to modify slightly. So we're going to add a cube. Let's go ahead and go into edit mode. Select the top vertices. And we're going to begin shaping that. Top view. Bring it in here. And also I want to kind of bring these points in a little bit, so we're going to press S and then Y to scale that in on a Y axis. Okay, very easy. Let's go ahead and put these in place right where we want them. Oh, also I'm going to put the origin to the geometry right here, so it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of grab it and rotate it and move it around. Okay, so once we have that in place, we're going to want to put one on the other side. Now we can duplicate this, rotate it, and then try and place exactly where this one is, or we can do something much easier, which is going to be the mirror modifier. So what I'm going to do is select this object right here on the side, going to go to my modifiers and add in the mirror modifier. Now for the object that we want to mirror, we want to select the turret head. So we're going to select turret head. Now Blender is going to use the turret head as the center to dictate where the object is going to be mirrored. Now we have to select the axis, which is going to be the Z axis, and now as you can see, it's going to be mirroring itself around here. Now just as a heads up, the reason why it is not in the exact center is because the origin is placed incorrectly on this object. You can see how it's over here, but if we set the origin to the geometry, it snaps into place. Now another nice thing about using the mirror modifier rather than duplicating the object is because if we want to go in and change anything around on this object in edit mode, then as you can see it's going to apply it to the object that is mirroring it. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to be building the missiles. We're going to go ahead and make a new circle. Let's rotate this 90 degrees so it is going in the right direction. Let's scale it down a bit. So what we're going to do is line this up to the object that's going to be holding the missile, and we're going to scale it down until it looks right. Okay, so after we have the scale of the circle correctly, what we're going to do is we're going to extrude it. Let's grab the front vertices and pull those out as well. And we're just going to make this however long you want your missiles to be. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add the point of the missile. So very simple, we're just going to extrude that. And then we are going to merge at center. There we go. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to be doing is making the fins for the missile. So what we're going to be doing for these is we're going to be making a new plane. So, new plane, and just kind of shape it the way that you think that a missile fin might look like. Okay, so after you've shaped it in this kind of triangular shape, The next thing that we're going to do is put it in place. So go ahead and rotate it. Let's scale it down. Okay, so instead of extruding this object to make it thicker, we're just going to put a modifier on it. So in modifiers, we're going to go to solidify. Now this is really good to use when you have an object that you want to just give a little bit of thickness to. So in the modifiers, go to solidify, and right here you can play with the thickness value to bring it up as thick as you want it. Alright, now another thing with the modifiers, after you have the object modified the way you want it, and you really don't think you're going to be going back and editing it more, if you click apply, it'll just save it to the object. Let's go ahead and name this object missile, because we're going to use this to mirror the fin objects. So, grab the fin, add modifier, mirror. For the mirror object, we are going to select missile, and there we go. Now let's go ahead and click apply, and now let's duplicate these, set the origin to the geometry, and now we need to rotate these. So let's just grab this rotation value and change that to 90. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is join this set of fins and this set of fins. So let's select them both, and then click join. We're going to want to rotate these objects, because if this turret fires a missile, then the fins are going to crash into it, and that's just going to be kind of silly. So let's go ahead and look at the object head-on, and then rotate, or we can just type in a value 45. Let's maybe scale this down a little bit more. Now one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another set of these fins, so duplicate the fin object, move it to the front, let's scale that down just a little bit. Now the last thing that we're going to do is about the back of this. I don't really like how you can see the fin sticking through it, so we're going to go back into edit mode. Remember to go into wireframe so we can select all the way through the object. Select the set of vertices, extrude, right click, scale in. Okay, that fixes that problem. So we have completed a missile. Very good. Now let's go ahead and join the missile and the two sets of 4 fins together, so it's going to be one object. Set the origin to the geometry so it goes right in the middle. Go ahead and touch it up against the object that is going to be holding onto it. And now we're going to mirror it. So mirror. The mirror object is going to be the turret head. Select the Z-axis, and there we go. One thing I want to point out before you join these objects is to apply any modifiers that you have on them. If you join the objects with modifiers that have not been applied, things are going to go wrong. So let's go ahead and apply that mirror and join all these objects. Okay, so that's going to complete the modeling portion of this turret. Now in future videos we're going to be adding materials. We're also going to be rigging the turret up with an armature, which means that we're actually going to be able to move it around, pose it, and animate it. Now that's going to be really cool if you're making an action movie. So this is going to conclude this video tutorial from 3D Creations for Beginners. If you want to continue learning from these tutorials, please continue to browse this channel. Also, check me out on Twitter at 3D for Beginners. Thanks for watching.